What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2. Now, with the recent changes to pets and pet abilities, there's been a lot of question as far as what is the best DPS offensive pet. I kind of narrowed it down to the top three, being Dragolich, of course. Dragolich has its Haunt ability, which haunts enemies, increasing damage taken by 100% for 5 seconds. Sandstorm, which Sandstorm is going to increase your speed by 50% and your attacks deal 110% bonus earth damage for 7 seconds. And then, of course, Poisonous Tips. Poisonous Tips is going to deal 130% bonus earth damage for 8 seconds. Now let's kind of break all that down, and just for ease of math, we're going to start off with Dragolich here, but we're going to assume that our hero does 1000 DPS. So if I'm doing 1000 damage per second, over the course of 10 seconds, I'm going to put out 10,000 damage. Now, if I go ahead and pop Dragolich, I'm going to get that damage debuff on the enemy, and any damage that they take is going to be increased by 100% for 5 seconds. So let's say we do that 10,000 damage over the course of 10 seconds, because we're doing 1000 damage per second, and then we pop Dragolich, so 5 of those seconds, we're going to have a debuff on the baddie that's going to increase their damage taken by 100%. That's going to give us an extra 5,000 damage over the course of that 10 seconds. This means in total, with Dragolich popped, we're going to be doing 15,000 damage over the course of the 10 seconds. Now if we go ahead and switch that up over to, say, our Sandstorm pet, Sandstorm, of course, increases the movement speed by 50%, but attacks deal 110% bonus earth damage for 7 seconds. Now, in that same situation, we're doing 1000 damage per second. Let's say over 10 seconds, we do our 10,000 damage. If we pop Sandstorm, 7 of those 10 seconds, we're going to do 110% bonus earth damage. 110% of 1000 DPS, of course, is 1100 DPS, which over 7 seconds, that's going to do an additional 7700 damage. So in that 10-second window, we're going to put out 17,700 damage. That, of course, is 2,700 more than the Dragolich in just this raw math scenario. Now let's go ahead and switch it over to Poisonous Tips. Now Poisonous Tips, of course, attacks deal 130% bonus earth damage for 8 seconds. So if we're doing 1000 damage per second over 10 seconds, we're going to do that 10,000 damage. But for 8 of those 10 seconds, we're going to deal an additional 130% bonus earth damage. Well, 130% of 1000, of course, is 1300. 13 times those 8 seconds is going to be an additional 10,400 damage, for a grand total of 20,400 damage over that 10-second window in this scenario. So when you look at it in those terms, Dragolich is doing 15,000, Sandstorm is doing 17,700, and Poisonous Tips is doing 20,400. So Poisonous Tips, of course, would win the battle. There's a few different things you need to think about, though. First off, Dragolich is putting the debuff on the baddie, which means that any of your defenses in the area, any other heroes that are there, are all getting the impact of that 100% additional damage. That alone, if you have an ogre coming down your lane and it gets into range of your defenses and you pop Dragolich on it, that ogre is going to evaporate almost instantly, because all of those damage, all those defenses are hitting for double. Now Sandstorm and Poisonous Tips puts the buff on yourself. Now in addition to this, any other heroes that are standing close to you are going to get the benefit of the buff as well. Now you do have to stand right on top of the other person. It's not like if I'm over here and you're over there, it's not going to work. You have to be standing directly next to each other. But the other hero that's in your group is going to get that additional damage. That works for Sandstorm and Poisonous Tips, and they do stack. So if one person has Sandstorm and one person has Poisonous Tips, there was a time on the PS4 where that would actually crash an entire tavern. I mean, everyone that was in it. That, of course, has been fixed. However, they do stack for a nice amount of damage. So, in my opinion, I'm going to personally be sticking with Dragolich the majority of the time. I find that the additional damage it gets from everything else around me is well worth that smaller amount that it's getting from the direct hero damage itself. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to rule out Poisonous Tips, because say I'm on a map where I see an ogre coming and he's over there and I'm over here, I can easily pop Poisonous Tips for that and still get the benefit of it and burn that ogre down. You know, if it's a situation where the boss or something is coming down another lane and you have a clear shot at him, or say you're sitting here spamming into this ogre as you watch Game of Thrones, which I tend to do periodically, you're still going to get the benefit from Poisonous Tips. So if you are all alone, far down a lane with no defenses in the area, Poisonous Tips is going to wreck house and it's going to get it done for you. However, if you're fighting whatever it is you're fighting in range of the rest of your defenses, like you should be, then Dragolich is going to really take the cake. You can notice this very, very quickly, having an ogre march in, you know, say a 5 million health ogre marching into an area where your defenses are there. When you pop Dragolich, everybody knows it. The ogre instantly disappears. It takes no time at all. With Poisonous Tips, you're still going to blaze that bad boy down pretty quick, but that additional damage from your other defenses is not going to apply. So I hope this answers a lot of questions. Really, to be honest with you, I personally would probably almost even take Sandstorm over Poisonous Tips. Although Poisonous Tips is going to put out way more damage, having the additional utility of that 50% speed buff is pretty awesome. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It makes an already fast hero really, really fly around the map. So, I mean, it's all really personal preference, what you like to do, how you like to play the game. But they all have their benefits. They're all very strong. Overall, in a well-built map, playing with or without friends for that matter, I think Dragolich is really going to get it done for you most of the time. However, if you do want to stay back at full range, or if you're in a situation where you're, say, defending a lane by yourself, you can really get up and push that lane back with Poisonous Tips, since there's no other defenses in the area hitting it. Now, it's also important to note that Sandstorm has a 30-second cooldown, Poisonous Tips has a 45-second cooldown, and Dragolich has a 60-second cooldown. So if you really like to spam those pet abilities, Sandstorm or Poisonous Tips is going to give you more overall uptime than Dragolich. So hope this helped everyone out. Please click that like button and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back soon with some more DD2. See ya!